All right, everybody. Hello and welcome to the latest edition of the Pump Fake. Jarrett Bailey, joined by someone I've looked up to for a long time, and I'm glad to call him a professional friend, Mike Tanier. It's good to say. Hold on, actually, we're matching now.
I love it. The meme is spreading. You look like Jamiroquai when you wear it.
Like a what?
Like Jamiroquai.
Who's that?
I'm off the podcast. I'm leaving. Jamiroquai, Virtual Insanity, the soul singer from the 90s. You played me in with what sounded like In the Air Tonight with Phil Collins, but without the drum. And then you're looking at me like I'm a senile grandpa for referencing Jamiroquai, who was incredibly popular in the halcyon days of the 1990s. I don't know how to spell it, but Google it. It's
okay.
Like, yeah.
I'll just Hey Siri it.
Yes.
Okay.
That'll work. That'll work.
Yeah.
You'll love it. You'll become addicted to the light funk and soul of Jamiroquai.
Light funk and soul. All right, I'll give it a go. I promise.
Yes.
How are you? It's good to see you.
I was fine until you didn't know who Jamiroquai was.
I'm sorry.
I'm the desiccated husk of a dying man. But I was well right up until that moment.
I got this because it reminded me of the show Peaky Blinders, and it was like $20 at a like homemade clothing store, and I liked it. So, but it makes me feel good that I can twin with you to a degree.
We can twin it a little bit. Whenever I try to find another hat, they seem a little poofy on my head. I went nice and flat against.
Yeah, I was gonna say that is. Have you had that same one just forever?
It was spent like an entire Super Bowl week in my back pocket at one point. So yeah, it's a little broken in.
All right, makes sense. But no, it is good to see you. I did say that I had a stat to lead off the show with, and Nate Tice tweeted this out that Ben Roethlisberger and Justin Herbert both had the same percentage of pass attempts travel 20 or more air yards in 2021 at 10.4%, which is tied for 22nd in the NFL last year. And just for more context, Justin Herbert, 672 pass attempts last year. Ben Roethlisberger, 605. So there might be a little bit discrepancy there, but it's not as if it's, ginormous.
Right. Yeah, and I looked it up. As soon as I saw Nick Tice, I looked it up. So Herbert completed 27 of 61 for 973 yards. So 27 of 61. Roethlisberger, 18 of 59 for 633. So almost the same amount of pass attempts. Herbert had 9 more completions.
Right.
340 more yards and a couple more touchdowns as well. So Herbert is obviously much more successful deep passer last year, going on to this incredible career. But I love the fact that when Nate Tice put that out there, all of Herbert for MVP Twitter stopped themselves for a moment and said, we weren't just overreacting to that Week 17 game against the Raiders. We watched all of Justin. We watched the Texans game, didn't we? And maybe you did. So like they had a little moment of clarity there. Obviously, Herbert's a hell of a ball player, but when you hear a stat like that, it's a reminder to not get too far ahead of yourself in terms of like your perception of how a player played and how he's going to play.
How do you feel about the Chargers going into this year? I feel like we drink the Chargers Kool-Aid every year, and they get in their own way more than any other team in the NFL. I'm drinking the Kool-Aid again. I mean, they had a very loud offseason bringing in J.C. Jackson, although he just had surgery. Yeah. They say it's minor, but I mean, anytime you got a guy who's going to more than likely miss week 1 against a division rival, by the way, I mean, that's not nothing. Bringing Khalil Mack as well, who might be past his prime, but still a solid guy that can give you some good value off the edge and as a run stopper as well. Derwin James just got extended. Like there's been a lot of stuff happening for the Chargers. Are we buying into them? Yes or no?
Well, I mean, there's no Kool-Aid when the Buffalo Bills are selling the White Claw. That's it. It's like, who are you going to pick them over the Bills? I mean, I guess you can, but why? Because how many of these guys are going to take this leap? You mentioned the newcomers along the way. We can do the newcomer game with every single team. We can do the newcomer game with the Broncos, obviously, with Russell Wilson. We can do it with the Raiders, with Chandler Jones and Devontae Adams, obviously. You talk about getting in your own way. The J.C. Jackson thing, they just reported he started to experience discomfort 2.5 weeks ago, but they had him practice through it. Now, I don't understand these galaxy brain young head coaches because they're like, we're not going to play anybody in the preseason. We're not going to put them out there. It's a waste of time. It's a potential injury risk. Okay, I get it. That makes sense. Oh, but we're going to make you play on a this uncomfortable ankle for 2 weeks when you're our number one acquisition of the offseason, or one of our two major acquisitions of the offseason. Oh, and we play Devontae Adams in the opener. Oh, and we play the Chiefs on 4 days rest after that. So if you get a minor injury that requires a procedure, we might lose the first 2 games if you're gone. That's getting in your own way. And that has me like for the Chargers to go all the way up to being Super Bowl contender, lots of things have to go right and nothing has to go wrong. This is the kind of go wrong that just says, take them out that top tier. Take them out of that top tier.
In terms of the AFC West, though, I mean, obviously it was just an arms race this offseason. Chargers did a lot. Denver obviously brought in Russell Wilson. The Raiders, you mentioned acquiring Chandler Jones and Devontae Adams. Kansas City, I think, is the only team in there where you can look at what they did and say, okay, they stayed stagnant or maybe got worse.
Yeah.
And then we see Patrick Mahomes just do what he's done his entire career against Washington this past weekend. Kind of remember, oh yeah, they've got 15 and they got Andy Reid, they got Eric Bieniemy still. They're probably going to be just fine. Your thoughts on the rest of the AFC West and how this could kind of stack out as we get closer to week 1?
The Football Outsiders Almanac, which you can see over my shoulder there, has everybody kind of neck and neck. So, I can tell you that the Chargers were picked to win, but win by like a tenth of a game. So it's really down to who gets hurt, who gets hot, et cetera, et cetera. The Chiefs are the one team that did not improve, but they have a proof of concept for like the next 4 or 5 years that you can obviously get behind. Like, oh, look at this. We have brought in George Karlaftis, who looks great. We brought in Trent McDuffie. He looks great. We swapped guys out on the receiving core, and they look like they're going to be okay. And we saved all the Tyreek money moving forward. So you can see what they're doing here. It's hard to, again, you can't put them on the plateau with the Bills quite yet because we haven't seen it. So that's the logic there.
Don't tell Verderam that.
I don't mind if you want to tell me they're going to win the division, et cetera, fine. And then you say, well, anything can happen, 18 seconds, 13 seconds, whatever it was. You can't make them the favorites. For Verderam, that's fine. He can be a homer about it. That's great. Again, the Chargers, I think what they're doing is strong. Broncos are very much a wild card. I don't know what to say, except I need to see Russell Wilson in the offense. I need to see the defense playing like it did a couple of years ago, and then they're that team. And I think the Raiders, one part of the Raiders, like McDaniels and his guys, know they have to churn the roster. They're churning guys. They're churning Kenyon Drake. They brought the Marcus Robinson. They churned him. They got rid of the kid Johnson a little while ago. They're going to get rid of Farrell, et cetera. Don't tell Mark Davis that because he's up there saying, yeah, Devontae, da-da-da-da-da. He's trying to sell season tickets. Right. I think they're going to be a 500 team because they've got decent stuff at the top and then they've got a lot of work to do at the bottom.
Yeah, and another thing with the Raiders, and I told this to Momo in a Bleacher Report last night, I've seen the Josh McDaniels head coach experience before, and it wasn't great. Yeah. Albeit it was over a decade ago. I understand that. But there's a lot of ifs in Vegas right now.
If he's that guy, I mean, what was that, 2008, 2009?
2009. Kyle Orton and Tim Tebow, Mike.
And he drafts Tim Tebow, and I can forget the name of the tight end he brought in early. I think his last name was Quinn, who had 12 receptions in college. Oh. And he brought in Sean Marino with the first round.
Sean Marino.
And all he did was like sort of fight with the front office. If he's that guy, forget about it. If he's that guy, nothing matters. This is just more of the Gruden administration. We're going to spend a lot of money, and there's going to be a lot of talk. I don't think he is. I think because I have to think that he has grown up in the last 13 years and he's coming in with more of a plan. But no, that's one of the problems in the back of our minds. And also, I mean, I think he's a good offensive coordinator.
Sure.
I mean, what he did with Mac Jones last year was very impressive. What he did with Matt Castle years ago, it's mostly Brady.
It helps when you have 12 under center.
Yeah, his resume is mostly Brady in terms of an offensive mind. Now, Carr's going to be okay. But again, we've seen Carr with a very good offensive mind in Gruden. That's the one thing he could still do is game plan. And we've seen it, and it winds up, 8 wins, 9 wins, maybe a wild card if a bunch of teams get COVID.
The occasional wild card experience,
yeah. Yeah, and like the slow growth to that. I'm very distracted. Who is that in the black and white photo over your right shoulder? Is that James Dean?
Oh, no, that's Sean Connery.
That's Sean Connery. Okay, so Sean Connery you're fine with, but Jamiroquai is just it's too old a reference for you.
I'm a big James Bond fan, and right. My sister got me that for Christmas, actually.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
I like it.
What were we talking about again?
Fucking Josh McDaniels or something.
If it helps,
Franco back here. I got Franco.
Yeah, I was gonna say I got the Immaculate Reception over this shoulder. A Derrick Rose painting. My ex-girlfriend painted that for me, but it's a cool painting, so I kept it.
It's out of it is a painting. I can only say
It is a painting. Okay. Yes. Who's this? That's Jeff Hardy. You know who Jeff Hardy is, Mike?
No idea, wrestler.
Yeah, correct. And then Batman right here.
Know who Batman is.
That's good. I would hope
Batman,
so.
You can see some X-Men over my shoulder.
Yeah, I do see that. The Raiders. That's what we were talking about before Mr. Connery entered the conversation. No, I like Derek Carr. I think that, obviously adding Devontae Adams is going to bolster an offense that was good last year. You got Derry Sanders and or Derry Rice, whatever you want to call him, and Hunter Renfrow. Get it because he's white.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they've got a good core of offensive weapons. Darren Waller's obviously very good. I just think it's okay. Is McDaniels, ready for a second try? Can the defense is kind of a question to me too. Like the front seven's cool. You have Jones, you have Max Crosby, who you extended. That secondary's got a lot to prove.
Yeah, you're going to get sacks, but then you're going to get beat at times off the back. And I think they did some things to improve it, but there's a second tier below the guys you name. And there are a lot of guys that you like, they're just good enough to get by, et cetera. And that McDaniels is going as high on maybe churning them out, seeing who really fits Patrick Graham's system, et cetera, et cetera. And there's just this chase group. And it's like, yeah, you can make an argument for them. Well, you can make the same argument for the Chargers, same argument for the Broncos. Yeah. Chiefs might have a better argument. You can make arguments for the Colts. The Titans still exist, apparently. Pretty much the entire AFC North, except for the scuzzballs. They've got something to offer at this point. Patriots still exist as well. The Dolphins have an argument. So it's not in the NFC. If you put the Raiders in the NFC, but 11-12 team, and then anything can happen in the playoffs. Here, it's like you're going to get beaten up by the time you reach the playoffs. Do you have something besides the fact that you had a really good offseason to bring to the table?
I just want to point out that you not knowing who Jeff Hardy is the equivalent to the way that you feel about me not knowing who Jamiroquai was. That hurt me a little bit.
It's wrestling. It's wrestling. It's music. Like wrestling is it's popular, but it's a niche. Music is music. Like everyone, like the deaf people like music. Okay. So what was he? Jeff Hardy, was he a champion? Was he?
Oh, he's one of the greatest high flyers in the history of professional wrestling. He was around before I was born.
Okay.
And he's still going strong at age 45.
I have no conception of who Jeff Hardy is.
I'll send you a clip.
Goes back to the days of Bob Backlund and Andre.
We've been over this before.
And past other things, yeah. So, and then back in the day when you turned 13. Now it's not a knock on you, Jack, because it is a different. I get it's a different era. Back in the day when you turned 13, you stopped doing comic books too. That's the way it was back in the day.
It's been the opposite for me, man. Like I have done the most this is as hardcore a wrestling fan as I've ever been. I've gotten into comics a lot recently. Yeah, I don't know. It's like a reconnaissance of sorts.
Wrestling and comics are the same thing. Wrestling is a live action comic book improv show. That's what it is. So I can't really poo-poo on it. The thing is, I never got into wrestling after age 13. I kind of stayed with comics. So there we are.
That's fair.
We found peace.
All right. We can meet in the middle there. Yes. So we've talked about everybody else in the AFC West. We might as well round that part off with the Denver Broncos. Another team with, a decent amount of ifs. Obviously, Russell Wilson is Russell Wilson. Can Nathaniel Hackett be that guy in year one? Defensively, yeah, they've got Justin Simmons, Pat Surtain, but can Bradley Chubb stay healthy? Right. And outside of those guys, it's a lot of those, okay, yeah, they're there. But so your thoughts on Denver? How are they going to look?
One of the things for the Football Outsiders Almanac is that we are not high on their defense. We have not been high on their defense. Not last year. This was a team that other teams would just turtle up against them because they know they weren't getting the 20 points. Drew Lock is the quarterback. You don't have to take a lot of chances against this defense. So the defense looks better last year, not 2016, 2017. I'm talking about last year.
Right.
It was not that great a defense. And we're kind of sitting on that. From what I'm hearing, they're very happy with the defense out there. They think Surtain has taken the lead. Gregory's just back, so I have no idea what Randy Gregory brings to the table. It's hard to get you can give me 10 wins for this team. I'll take 10 wins. It's hard to get me past that when I have no eyes on Russell Wilson with this new offense, how it's going to look with these guys, and what that defense is going to be like. I think it's going to be certainly better than the Seahawks looked the last year or two, but it's hard to push beyond that. And Hackett is another one of these, like Sean McVay family guys. You're not going to see anybody in the preseason. So you're bringing in Wilson. He's obviously getting tons of reps with the starters, but he's getting no live action. We're seeing no live action to see how that works out. So we're left kind of guessing what it's going to look like, especially in the first couple of weeks of the season.
All right, from the AFC West, it's 15 minutes in. Let's talk about Carson Wentz, Mike.
I love that. You come in, bam. All right. What do you want to know?
Look, you know how I feel about Carson Wentz, and you know that I'm very bullish.
Outline your logic for Carson Wentz.
Outline my logic for Carson Wentz. I'm not sitting here making the claim that he's 2017 league MVP before he tears up his knee, Carson Wentz. I am here to defend the fact that he's not QB 27 in the league like everybody on Twitter seems to think. He is. How do I describe Carson Wentz? He's Meatloaf. Everybody pretends to hate Meatloaf, but Meatloaf is pretty okay.
Talking about the food or the singer?
The food.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I myself enjoy Meatloaf. So I think, look, he's much closer to being like the 17th or 18th best quarterback in the league than he is the 30th. And whether you like it or not, Washington fans, he's an upgrade over Taylor Heineke. And that's not to crap on Taylor Heineke. I mean, he's proven that he, is a decent bridge guy or a high-end backup in the league. But going from Heineke to Wentz, not to mention the fact, this is the best quarterback Terry McLaurin's ever had. Curtis Samuel, who they signed last year, didn't really get to have a lot of because he got hurt. They draft Jahan Dotson as well. Antonio Gibson, Brian Robinson, a good set of backs. Chase Young, Deron Payne, that entire front line of former first-round picks. There's a lot that I like about Washington. There's a hell of a lot more that I like than I don't like about the Commanders.
All right. Before we get to Carson, okay, Chase Young going to miss the first 4 games,
Sure.
Lingering injury. Antonio Gibson fumbling his way out of a job right now.
Brian Robinson seems like he's going to win that job.
Yes, Brian Robinson's going to win a job, and he's going to be a good thumper. They'll be fine in the backfield overall. Yeah. Carson Wentz, Tom Pelissero, sort of put
the
it
brilliant Tom Pelissero, by the way.
Huh?
The brilliant Tom Pelissero, by the way.
He's a good quarterback, but all of this drama has to follow him around. Drama follows quarterbacks around. That's what you have to do. Imagine having to say that about, Kyler Murray. We have to get rid of all this. The drama that follows Carson Wentz around is Carson Wentz. And that the fact that something goes wrong with Carson Wentz and it's like a wrench gets into the machine and then the machine explodes. So a lot of Washington Commanders fans and observers have already landed on this. And I think they landed on it somewhere between this last preseason game where he just sort of had another one of his coverage sack. How do you get a coverage sack in a preseason game when you're a 7th-year vet? But if everything is perfect, Carson Wentz can be a very good quarterback. Everything is never perfect. And if anything is imperfect, it's left-handed shovel pass interception time. And it's after the game, Carson, why did you throw that left-handed shovel pass interception? Asks somebody in the Washington press pool. And Carson's like, I don't want to get into specifics about this thing or that thing here. We as a team have to get better. And the press pool stares at him like, you don't want to get into the specifics about how you threw the ball into the chest of a defender at the goal line. You don't want, and the players start to realize this, and the coaches start to realize this. So those of us who detract on Carson Wentz, and it's not me, it's his employers. Don't listen to me. Don't listen to Mike Tanier. He's just a smart ass. Listen to the GM of the Indianapolis Colts when he's standing there at the podium saying, look, we just need more accountability and more professionalism from the quarterback position. When he's saying stuff like that, when Irsay is doing these videos that are basically just burn book videos about how the team is going to go in a bold new direction now that they've changed quarterbacks. Listen to this. This isn't about I broke down his DVOA or his statistics or his completion percentage. It's who you're going to see. And you're going to see it now in the cauldron of the Washington media where they tear up guys and bring them down pretty hard. Yeah. In a organization that has been playing the let's have a backroom skullduggery battle over shit for decades. That chewed up RG3 and Kirk Cousins, that has done this to quarterbacks who had all of their shit about them in the past. And also, Eagles go to Washington week 3. There's already Eagles buses going down to Washington. Carson Wentz is going to get booed in his home stadium and mercifully ridiculed. He might spend the rest of the week after that hiding under his couch like my dog in a thunderstorm, because that's who he's been for the past 5 years. So you tell me about his arm? Fine. You're going to tell me he makes great throws once in a while? Fine. This is who the guy is going to be. And you're going to see either Heineke or you're going to see the 6th-round pick out of North Carolina.
Sam Howell, the guy you don't like because he's never eaten a hamburger.
Yeah, that's exactly why I don't love him. By the way, I don't love him because he spent his senior year just basically taking off like halfway through the first read. But that's another thing. You're going to see them probably by Thanksgiving because he's either going to hurt himself taking a sack, or Rivera's going to be like, this is it. I can't deal with this kid anymore. Or somebody on top of him, God forbid, the higher levels of Washington. You know, you're talking about some real geniuses. And
absolutely.
Is going to say either get that kid out of there or extend his contract 7 years because I have something to prove. And it's going to be absolute chaos in Washington. Sorry to go on a soapbox here, but I had to get my whole Wentz thing out here.
No, your soapboxes are entertaining. What if I provide the counterpoint that what if he's learned from his mistakes?
Oh, this time. This time he learned. So 2018, 2019, he didn't learn. 2020, he sees Jalen Hurts walk into the.
Let me just say this: 2019, he dragged a god awful Eagles team to the playoffs at 9-7.
That's the narrative. That's the storyline. I want you. These receivers and everything like that. The miscommunications never seem to go away. The receivers change. Other people go in there, and it always seems to be, well, why did somebody run the wrong route there? What's going on there? And the common denominator, whether it's Philadelphia or Indianapolis, and you saw it the other day, like that looked like a miscommunication on this throw over the middle where I think it was Gibson or somebody got walloped. It's Wentz. So, Jalen Hurts walks into the building and like he starts huffing into a paper bag, completely poops the bed at the thought of having to do a competition with another quarterback, loses his mind, goes to the one coach in the world who was like, I can take care of you. Don't worry about it. Frank Reich is here. You're in Indianapolis. You're in a red state. Everybody agrees with you. It's going to be just fine, Carson. Don't think for a second that ain't part of it. That's completely part of it. Okay. You won't have to deal with mask mandates here. Oh
my God.
All right.
Who's
out there has an MVP caliber running back and a young future budding Hall of Famer on his offensive line and falls apart at the end of the season. But now he's going to learn his lesson with the Commanders?
That's what I'm banking on.
All right. Well, yeah. I mean, third place is there for the team. They're going to be better than the Giants. I like to say that Daniel Jones is Carson Wentz without comic timing. But, Wentz is going to be better. Again, those high upside plays do happen from time to time, and that keeps him in the league and keeps the believers believing. But I spent you saw me on Football Outsiders. I spent last year Carson Wentz victimization index, where every week I would go with whatever the drama was and why Carson is the poor victim of all of this, persecution.
That was my favorite part of every week. I hope you know that kept me tuning in more than anything.
And they were 5-3 at some point. It's like, you know what? I should probably discontinue this because it looks like he has moved forward with his career. No. I was fooled. Into thinking maybe I should go easy on the young man. Nope. Things got difficult at the end of the year. He went through his little COVID thing. He came back too fast because heaven forbid, they're like, if I don't get out there and start, Sam Ellinger might win the starting job from me. And then it'll be Jalen Hurts all over again. Oh, no, let me rush back there and be the hero. Get your ass kicked by the Raiders. Get your ass kicked by the Jaguars with the games on the line. This is who you're talking about with this quarterback. Sorry.
I'm holding out hope.
Did you put a lot of money on this? You're a Steelers guy. Did you put money on Washington or something?
No. I'm just, I don't know. I just can't quit Carson Wentz. That scene in Brokeback Mountain where Jake Gyllenhaal and Heath Ledger, I wish I could quit you. That's how I feel about Carson right now.
He ain't Jake Gyllenhaal. He ain't Heath Ledger. He's not like he's on like some Hulu documentary. He is not one of these legendary stars. You can quit on him. I'll tell you one thing. It's like, especially when Football Outsiders came up. I was young once, and well, I was early middle age when Football Outsiders started 20 years ago, and we were always like, never follow the narrative. It's a narrative, and sometimes they're like, you know what, this Carson Wentz thing is a narrative, and if you look at the stats or something else or the film, you'll see something else. Sometimes the narrative is because it really is what's happening. That's really the thing that's happening. And that, like, it takes a while to kind of to get that. Like, oh, sometimes everybody's saying something are right. And that's the case, I think, with Carson Wentz.
All right. We can stop crapping on Carson Wentz. I think
I feel bad now.
That's fine, because I'm about to crap on Jalen Hurts. We might as well stay in the NFC East. Yeah, like, I just don't see it with Philadelphia. Like, I understand, like, their defense I love, by the way. I think Nakobe Dean was a great steal for them, and I think he's going to play above what his draft position was. Getting Reddick over from Carolina, Darius Slay had a very good year last year. Like, those pieces on defense are fine.
Right.
Getting at A.J. Brown, I think, is going to turn out to be underwhelming for them. Not to say that A.J. Brown isn't good. I love A.J. Brown. I think that A.J. Brown benefited a little bit, though, from a Tennessee scheme that thrived off play action, which helped him haul in 1 trillion deep balls for touchdowns from Tannehill. And you look at this Eagles scheme, they use play action amongst the fewest teams in the NFL. I think they were 29th in play action last year. And to keep the comparison going that I've kept going about this, it's great to add a really good receiver, but how many times have we seen that drag a team over the hump? Like, Julio Jones played for a lot of bad teams. Larry Fitzgerald spent his career playing for bad teams.
Right.
And Randy Moss went to the Raiders at one point. Everybody's like, oh my goodness, the Raiders are going to be so good. And they remembered, oh crap, Kerry Collins is our quarterback. So I think that if it can happen to guys like that, this could definitely be a situation in Philadelphia where we've seen this in Philadelphia, by the way, Mike, where they built a quote unquote dream team. Thank you, Vince Young. And went 8-8 that year. So
that was tremendous, and they had a wide receiver they brought in. My gosh, who was it?
They brought in a receiver that year?
They brought in a receiver, a guy who my brain keeps saying Victor Cruz. It wasn't Victor Cruz. He was still on the Giants at that point.
Right.
Was the other Steve Smith? It was
the other Steve Smith. That's who it was.
Yep. Steve Smith came off like a 90-catch season. He had done something. And among others, and that was a mess. They also brought in T.O. in 2004, and that got. Remember, we're not talking about taking a bad team and taking them over the hook. We're talking about a team with other weapons and assets, and adding a receiver. Now, Aaron Schatz, Football Outsiders president and founder, is picking the Eagles as a Super Bowl team.
Schatz, Jesus. Look, I'm going to say Schatz is much smarter than I. I'm not going to pretend to be higher and mightier than Aaron Schatz, but I would bet the mortgage that I don't have that the Eagles won't make the Super Bowl.
Yeah. I mean, part of it is our official projections, the Buccaneers, and Aaron has to go on ESPN and NFL Network and things like that. Like, sometimes you want to say something a little different. So
sure.
It's like the Eagles, there are enough things here with the Eagles that he felt comfortable saying that, as opposed to the Buccaneers who are getting offensive linemen injured every day. And Tom Brady was in the Yucatan picking macrobiotic smoothie ingredients or whatever the hell he was doing. I didn't want to think about what him and Giselle might have been doing someplace, but like, where was I?
The Eagles and Schatz picking them to be a Super Bowl team.
We have a playoff projection for the Eagles. I see the Eagles as a playoff team, but when you say the argument, Jalen Hurts is going to be capped at a certain level. I believe that. Unless some Josh Allen type thing happens, I don't think he's going to be a tremendous high accuracy deep passer up the sidelines and a super comfortable passer over. Right. If they get a little better, the Eagles get a little better, they can be in that 11-12 win category. Easiest schedule in the NFL per Football Outsiders. 2 wins coming against the Giants. We already talked about what happens when Carson Wentz walks into Philly. God help him. They'll burst into flames like a vampire.
More than anything, Mike, I want Carson Wentz and the Commanders to put up 50, and I want Carson Wentz to poop on the 50-yard line. That's what I want to see happen.
Right, and that's fair. That's fair. I can actually see. I'd respect him more if he does.
Continue.
But it's the NFC. There is a wall at the top of Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, Matthew Stafford, now that he has that level. And that's pretty much the trio of wall.
It's very thin in the NFC. Yeah, like very top heavy.
But it's also like can you justify your quarterback smash or your team smashing through the teams that have those quarterbacks? Yeah. It's hard to make that case with the Eagles. I think it's hard to make that case with the 49ers because unless you say Trey Lance walks in the door as Patrick Mahomes, they're probably going to crash into that wall as well.
You don't need to tell me about 49ers fans and Trey Lance, Mike. As somebody who contributes to the Sports Illustrated site for the San Francisco 49ers, I know well and good how this fan base feels about Trey Lance.
Right. And it's great to be excited. And I'm excited. And I think he'll probably be fine. I think he'll have a good season. But what is your projection for real on this guy who saw what he threw 60 passes last year and 30 the year before?
Yeah, that's the thing because look, he looked fantastic, obviously, in the preseason game against Green Bay. I get it. Yeah, exactly. And the thing that I've tried to say is that do I think he'll end up being better than Jimmy Garoppolo in his career? Yes. Yeah. I think that he has all the physical tools, the dual threat, is like everything about him just says, yes, he will be a very solid quarterback. Right. To say that he right now at this very second is better than Jimmy Garoppolo is asinine and lacks any sort of merit whatsoever. Because like you said, he's played 3 games in the past year and a half, calendar years. I don't know, man.
I don't mind putting him ahead of Garoppolo right now. Okay, Garoppolo will give you more efficiency. He's going to give you more big plays and more scrambling. I can see that coming out ahead. But it's more than just getting past Garoppolo here. It's taking this to get into the Super Bowl this year or in the short term. It's this extreme next step that you simply can't really project if you're being honest. If you're really doing a projection and not wish casting. Mm-hmm. And with fans, you're seeing it. I always say it. If you're excited about the guy, that's fine. If you're dreaming of MVP Dan Marino's second year,
14-3 Super Bowl, lock it down, San Francisco. That seems to be the consensus.
Why are you coming after somebody who's disagreeing? This is my wish, my hope, and my prayer, and everything. Oh, you think it's going to be sideways? Fucking 6,000 DMs on you coming after you morning, noon, and night about it. I'm gonna sound like the old get a life thing, no. Yeah, I have this agreement. You have this agreement. I'm not saying he's bad. I'm not saying Aaron Rodgers is bad. I'm saying he's just a complete pain in everybody's ass. I'm not saying whatever. It's just take a deep breath and realize, oh yeah, you know what? A lot of people think that Trey Lance is going to just have a gap year, a stepping stone year, and respect that.
I think he'll be fine.
What about Dolphins fans?
Dolphins fans, yeah, no. Have you been? I don't know if you know about this fan on Dolphins Twitter, who they seem to really enjoy, who puts people on quote unquote Cuck Mountain. Are you aware of this?
Oh no! I know Tuanon.
That's good. I like that.
Oh, it's funny as hell. I love it. It's a great site, but I don't know about Cuck Mountain. Tell me about Cuck Mountain. Please.
Yeah, no. If you tweet something less than complimentary about the Miami Dolphins and Dolphins Twitter gets a hold of it, they at this guy and he just takes a picture of your face and puts it on top of a mountain labeled Cuck Mountain.
So it's not a mountain of
no
men watching other men have
no, it is not.
Tricky graphically to get.
Yeah, I mean that would be some damn good Photoshop and Adobe type skills to have. I wasn't a graphic design major, thank God, but I mean anybody who was, God bless them if they can pull that off. But no, that is not the mountain.
Then I'm not impressed by the bit because it's Cuck Mountain, and you just took a word and you took a triangle that's a mountain and you put them together. Look at me! Come on, fan base, rally behind me. Do something that's got a little shelf life. The Tuanon thing, that puts on a dolphin head sometimes.
Hilarious.
Commit to the bit, Cuck Mountain guy.
I'm very much out of the Miami Dolphins since we're on the topic. I see nothing that people are really projecting on Tua, aren't they? Very much so, with absolutely nothing to go off of. And all we've seen is lots of short throws, and anytime he throws it intermediate, it's at the guy's shoes. There's nothing there, man. It's gotten to the point, Mike, where Dolphins Twitter's Skylar Thompson. He's doing great in the preseason. If all goes wrong, we've got Skylar Thompson. We've got this. No.
When you say projecting, there's projecting him to win the Super Bowl or projecting themselves onto him. That's what I was Cuck Mountain guy. He's clearly projecting something. That's projecting. Okay. This is what's on my mind every single day. That's you, buddy.
You should see somebody about that, man.
Right, you're right. But like the full court press, like to hear Mike McDaniel or anybody else from that organization talk, it's like a K-pop band. It's like Tua is a K-pop band at this point. It's not like yeah, he's developing. I'm seeing some signs that he's like more comfortable than he was last year, et cetera. It's like he's going to change the way you think about the RPO. He has the accuracy of a missile orbital laser. Yeah, and it's like you guys are so thirsty and trying so hard now. I want to be like I saw enough things about Tua. It's like I can see this guy coming around in his third. There was ability here, the release and things like that. His accuracy on the short passes. You can build something off of that. When you come in here and try to tell me you haven't seen Tua for real yet, wait till you see the real Tua.
You don't know the real Tua.
It's like you're trying to sell me a goddamn timeshare. I know this routine and his full Garoppoloization because I remember Garoppolo. Remember the famous 6 interception practice?
Oh yeah.
It was 6, and they sent John Lynch or Shanahan out there to say, Garoppolo is doing things every day on the practice field that few human beings on earth are capable of doing.
Oh, I forgot about that quote. That was a fun time.
And you know what? He's right. There are
technically, objectively speaking, he's correct.
Yes, 96 humans in the world who can play NFL quarterback, more or less. Garoppolo is clearly one of them. Tua is clearly one of them. They're doing things I can't do, you can't do.
Sure.
The starting quarterback from my high school can't do yet. All right. But like, if that's your takeaway, that's what you're saying. Don't bullshit a bullshitter. Come on.
And the other thing with the Dolphins is that they've spent the last year and a half. Okay, we'll draft Tua, but we're throwing out Ryan Fitzpatrick. But we'll put into it. Throw Ryan Fitzpatrick back in. Holy shit, that was bad.
Get Brissett out there.
Get Jacoby Brissett out there now. Let's go get Deshaun Watson. He doesn't want to come here. Let's go get Tom Brady. He doesn't want to come. Like the Miami Dolphins are an unfaithful husband who are just trying to convince everybody that they have loved their wife all along, and it's just so clear that they haven't.
Right, they're holding her extra tight at the at the wedding reception. I'm with you, babe. It's like you chased all 3 of those bridesmaids, man. You are not. You're not good. But that's it. And a little bit. I know Brian Flores is like, well, he was absolutely wrong by that organization. 100% he was wrong by that organization. Also, he handled his quarterbacks like a ninny. Because I remember him like storming around, stomping around, get back in there, Tua, and all this goofy stuff. And the double coordinators, like the dueling banjo coordinators. They've been trying to tell us with Tua for a while. Now, again, I haven't written him off. I think he could wind up being a caretaker custodian quarterback. He throw a bunch of screens to Waddle and Hill. It could be something. But it's really the percentage that this is all just a hill of beans right now. The percentage of probability that's really high. Really high. Yeah,
quite high. We touched on New England a little bit. I'll get back to that, but I'll get back to New England. I do have to get your opinion on the Steelers because I'm very much. It feels like we're in a Twilight movie here in Pittsburgh, whether you're Team Mitch or Team Kenny. I'm very vocal in being Team Mitch. Everybody's drooling over Kenny Pickett. He's 19 of 23 or whatever the hell he is. He's averaging 4.7 yards an attempt, Mike. He's throwing it from me to my door away. It's not like they're asking him to do much. I'm not saying that Mitch Trubisky is going to become, Lamar Jackson overnight or anything like that, but I think that he's capable. I think a rehab year in Buffalo with all of that talent there, whether it's under Josh Allen, with McDermott, with Ken Dorsey, with Brian Dable, I think that there's something to say that, okay, I think he's learned a lot. I think he can be, the 19th, 20th, somewhere in that range of, capable bridge quarterback, where Kenny Pickett was a freshman in college in 2003. He spent half a decade there in the worst conference of the Power Five, was good for one of those years, doesn't have a ginormous arm. I think can we not just accept, okay, this year was bad for quarterbacks. He was the best of a bad group by popular consensus. I don't think I think there's a clear ceiling for Kenny Pickett. And I think that they signed Mitch Trubisky for a reason. Let him, I think he's the better quarterback right now.
And I don't want to bury Pickett, but I'm going to say there's definitely a clear ceiling for this season.
Yeah,
absolutely. If this is a developmental thing, it's a developmental thing, et cetera. He's an older prospect. He's not Brandon Weeden. He's not
quite Brandon Weeden.
He's not quite Brandon Weeden, but but he had 5 years in school, whatever. I'm not team one or team the other. I'm team look at the process and be reasonable about this. And you start your season with the Bengals defending AFC champions.
Oh, they're going to lose by 90. I'm scared.
Followed by the Patriots, who still have a very, very strong defense. Now,
I think they beat New England at home, their home opener.
Okay, well, here's the thing. You go out there with Trubisky against those two teams. You've got your professional game managery quarterback out there. You get wins, you get wins. You get losses, he gets pummeled. You can start the train of, oh, now we got to move it. Maybe you should talk over to Pickett. The Jets are coming down the road in a couple of weeks. We can maybe switch over to Pickett. If you start with Pickett, and he is not Justin Herbert out the gate, and he loses to the defending champion and gets completely, I saw ghosts treatment from Belichick. And then you switch over to Trubisky, it just opens up the whole can of worms. You know, it's like, why did you take this risk with the prospect? Why did you think he was ready?
Which, by the way, Mike, I will be leading that charge. I'm not going to pretend I won't be one of those people.
Right. Well, it's potentially fair. Like, here was the guy who wasn't ready. Why didn't we get the journeyman out there to absorb this in what's probably really a rebuilding year anyway? So I have a funny feeling it's going to be Trubisky as the starter. And Steelers fans don't know what quarterback competitions look like.
No, Steelers fans have been spoiled for 20 years. Like, I'm the first to admit that Steelers fans are among the most spoiled in sports. And when something goes mildly wrong, it's bitch and moan city. I understand.
You were 7 years old when Roethlisberger came up, right?
I was 6. I was in kindergarten.
You were 6, and I believe, was it Tommy Maddox was the custodian quarterback?
Yeah,
he started the first couple games.
He started week 1, and then he had his shoulder ripped out of his socket. He did. I watched it happen.
Oh my God, it's awful. You're right. But like, oh my God.
Against Baltimore.
Well, you know what? It's better to get Trubisky's arm ripped out of his socket right now than Kenny Pickett.
And you know what? I think there's a lot of similarities between this and the Bears of last year with Andy Dalton and Justin Fields. I think Justin Fields is much better than Kenny Pickett. But like, Bears fans last year were just screaming to throw in Justin Fields. He's going to die. Like, they have no one to protect him. And then he got sacked 9 times in his first start against Cleveland. And everybody's like, that's why we didn't put in Justin Fields, God damn it. Right. So there's a lot there.
And the Steelers' offensive line is suspect. I mean, one thing that the Bears absolutely didn't do is like, we're not going to practice scramble drills for our scrambling quarterback. We're not going to install a read option package. And I'm not a huge Matt Canada fan, but like, you don't need you don't need a run heavy system for Pickett, so to speak. You've got a lot of guys you can throw the screen and get yak with, obviously, because that's all you've been doing for the last 2 years anyway. So there's not as much of that worry.
You keep my quarterback's name out of your mouth.
But you could bring this guy in, but you're right, it's still a sack threat. It's still just you can ingrain the bad habits threat when you bring these guys in too quickly. I think that the Falcons are going to do it right. They're going to put Mariota out there until he snaps. And sadly, that will happen quickly. And when Ritter comes in, it won't be a different, it won't be like, you're the savior, go do this now. It'll be like, this is your chance to get your growing pains in your lumps.
The Atlanta Falcons did pull off an impressive feat, which is having 2 quarterbacks in their 20s that look like they're in their 50s, which is certainly saying something.
Right. Well, Mariota, that's just hard life. That's a lot of his. Ritter's just like an unduly mature looking guy. He's not one of the receding hairline guys, is he?
Yeah, no, it's hilarious that him and Trey Young both play in Atlanta, by the way, because they look like they could be cousins. It's hilarious. It's a beautiful thing.
Male pattern baldness, it hits a lot of young men. It's,
I started just cutting my hair short. Like, not that I'm balding or anything. I just felt like it was time. Maybe if I ever go bald, I don't know what I'm going to do.
If you go bald, shave it.
Oh yeah, just accept it
and make a whole look out of it. Yeah, men my age who do the comb over and stuff like that. That's
no. That's just living in denial.
Mine is very short up in here. I keep it all very short up in here. So but I'm a little vain. So.
All right, I did say we would touch on the New England Patriots. That's another team where I'm just like, I don't see it at all. Like, going from Josh McDaniels calling plays to Matt Patricia / Joe Judge is like going from, a day at the amusement park to a colonoscopy from Freddy Krueger. Like, it's nothing about this is going to go well for me. And especially in year 2 of Mac Jones, which is, by and large, the most important year of developing a quarterback. I think there's a clear ceiling with Mac Jones as well in terms of he's not very athletic, doesn't have a ginormous arm. Like I've said this all offseason. It's very possible that we are pretty close to seeing Mac Jones peak already. Like, I don't think he's going to get much better than what we've seen already. And then you throw in Tweedledee and Tweedledum, who are going to be his co-offensive coordinators. Like, I don't know, man. I know that, people seem to like their defense as well, but I'm pretty low on New England.
I mean, I like their defense, but you talk about calling plays. Calling plays is part of it. The entire installation of a new offense.
Yeah.
So Jay and Silent Matt didn't say, "Oh, here's all Josh McDaniels' game plans. We've worked with him for years. He's our pal, and we have all of his assistants running around. Let's just keep doing what he's doing." Like, we're going to put in a Shanahan outside zone game because we're very smart, stable geniuses. And so
you saw how I did in Detroit and how Joe did in New York.
Right. Joe Judge had it down in New York, him and Jason Garrett and Freddie Kitchens, the freaking unholy trinity.
That is one hell of a trinity of a coaching staff, is it not? My God.
Right. Well, Joe Judge had to sacrifice somebody, so he sacrifices Garrett.
Which I don't think anybody was upset about, by the way.
Nobody was upset about that. But here we have Freddie Kitchens. Remember his success story? He called like a bunch of like reverses and Jarvis Landry passes for 2 weeks. Everyone decided he was a genius because, trick plays. No one's ever thought of that before. He must be the next big coaching thing. Let's make him the head coach. Totally goes into Robespierre mode and starts, trying to take over the organization for the Cleveland Browns. And now we bring him in as our guy. But so this new system's in, and you're hearing these dire stories come out of training camp. And the Patriots press pool has been trained over the decades to never criticize this team. It's like you will never be able to interview the long snapper if you say the wrong thing. And they're like, well, that practice was pretty weak. There's still some miscommunications out there. Mac Jones is talking about how it's a process and perfection is the enemy of the process and things like that. It's going to be bad, and you're right. I think peak Mac Jones is going to be It's going to be what we saw last year, maybe a little hump from that, but not much. And remember what we saw last year. Watch him in the playoffs. Watch him late in the season.
Oh, yeah. Once they played a real team on, that wasn't in a wind tunnel, they got boat raced.
Right. They got boat raced. Yeah, a lot of games against the Jets and the Panthers where it's like, we're leading by 14. You can throw the screen pass to Brandon Bolden on 3rd and 12, and maybe he'll run through a bunch of nitwits and get you a first down. Here, let's see if you're ready for a shootout against Josh Allen. Now, that's unfair for a rookie to say you're ready for a shootout. But you were starting to see it there. You were starting to see the bubble of reality close in around the whole Mac Jones is Tom Brady 2.0 situation. If they had kept McDaniels, if they had brought in some McDaniels colleague to be the offensive coordinator and there was continuity, I'd believe it. This is going to be a spectacular failure on offense. Then they'll wind up, 8 and 9 wins because they're playing the Jets and their defense is okay. So,
I keep trying to hold on that the Jets will be a fun 7-win team this year.
No,
you don't think so? You don't believe in Robert Saleh?
It's hopeless. Robert Saleh tries to get out there and do things. I don't think the quarterback is the answer. He's hurt, so we're going to start the season with Joe Flacco. That's not really going to go anywhere. It's just this snake bit situation there. Like when we saw, I'm drawing a blank, Zach Wilson. Before he gets hurt, he throws an interception.
Right to an Eagles defender, yeah.
Eagles defender. And then it really looks like he's scrambling for this. It's like, I'm going to do a diving scramble to show the coaches what I'm really made of. Like, play within yourself. Kid's got a great arm. He's got some athletic ability there. This is the guy. Brigham Young had the 2020 schedule where they're calling local high schools because everybody COVIDed out on them. And it's like,
they're playing roast beef A&M.
Roast beef A&M. Yeah, exactly. And he's getting these 3 and 4 touchdown games, throwing to Mitt Romney's great nephew or whatever. Seriously, that's who his receiver was. I know he had a better receiver, but he's like, that's who his number 1 receiver was. It was Mitt Romney's nephew. And they're scoring touchdowns. It's like, well, this is obviously a Division I team here winning a bunch of games. It's like it's COVID. Teams are playing 3-game schedules, and these guys are out there playing, the Little Sisters of the Poor.
Here's the thing. I was so high on Zach Wilson, too. I did a million film studies of him in Seven Brook. Oh, man. I called him porn on turf. That was my little
there was a lot of fun things to watch, but I'm watching them.
Oh,
and I'm
yeah.
like, what is this team they're playing? You Texas San Antonio? That's their backup quarterback?
Hey, the Utes of Roadrunners will get respect on this show.
And it doesn't apply to Wilson so much, but especially 2020. I was watching some of the films of these guys. I was like, my God, this is an incredible game, 238 yards. Do a little Googling beforehand, especially for the 2020 season. The other team had a COVID outbreak. Those were their freshmen. Oh crap. And then people on your draft Twitter, look at this play. Like, that's a 17-year-old. He's up there. That's a 17. Do your homework before you run and start making gifts, guys. It wasn't as much as that was Zach Wilson, but there was a little bit. Again, the athleticism was there. The deep shots were there. I was looking at there's a lot of silly time here, guys. There's a lot of silly time, and I'm not sold on this prospect. And he had a rough rookie year, obviously, and now we don't know what we're going to see.
All reports said he had a damn good offseason, though.
Oh, yeah. Well, he's lived his best life. He's lived his best life. And
for people my age, he's the MVP.
Is that a thing? Like the whole cougar hunting thing? Is that a thing at your age?
I mean, yeah.
Okay. This was not.
It's fun.
This was not thought of like when I was 2021.
Wasn't it?
It wasn't. It wasn't like I don't remember seeing an older woman who wasn't like a movie star actress or something like that and saying, like Olivia Newton-John or something. I'm in love with her. Not like the 10th grade English teacher or something like that. There was not a whole lot of that type of thing. So that must be a new phenomenon.
It must be, but yeah, no, I mean, I'm not. That's not to say that I wake up every day and I'm like, my one goal for the day is to find.
My one goal for the day is to have that landscaper cutting the lawn in front of the millionaire's wife's house fantasy. No. Okay.
Yeah, but I've done what Zach will not exactly what Zach Wilson's done. No, nothing involving my mother's friends. No, but yeah, no, I have, and it's fun.
What was the greatest age difference between you and an older woman then that you've had? Any
8 years. So 8 years? I'm about to be 24. They were 32.
Okay. That's
yeah.
So and this is recent.
Yeah.
Okay, you're spilling some very recent tea here.
Yeah, but I am.
8 years. I mean, that's still within the boundaries of good taste and things like that.
Yeah. Okay. No, like I'm not like go. All right, let's find a 53-year-old today, boys. Ready, break.
I'm 51, right? So 53 is like, yeah.
I didn't know how old you were actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
I do now though.
Like the little Bruce Arians thing here.
I was gonna say, yeah, no, you could play him in a movie. He's from my hometown. Do you know that?
I did not know that.
The pride of York, Pennsylvania, Bruce Arians. So is Joe Kane, by the way. He was born in York, Pennsylvania.
So is Live, right? The band Live, aren't they from York, Pennsylvania? Or don't you know who they are either? Oh, for fuck's sake.
I did have a tweet yesterday that said Cinderella was the most underrated hair band of the 1980s, though.
Right, and that was, I don't know, because they're hair bands. I'm trying to think. I mean, Skid Row would have been up there as underrated.
Somebody did comment Skid Row. I think there was a Warrant comment. Rat.
Warrant was pretty good. Skid Row was a better band. I'm trying to see where Live is from.
Yeah, find that out.
But like, if you're talking about hair band as being a hair band, where the hair and the sort of cheesiness is part of where the band is. Live is an American rock band formed in York, Pennsylvania in 1984.
Would you look at that?
Grunge band that had a string of hits in the 1990s. That's from your hometown. And when I said the name of them, you looked at me like I was pulling some kind of freaking obscure reference from 19.
I will say they sounded more familiar than what's that guy, Jamiroquai?
Jamiroquai. They had more hits than Jamiroquai, at least on the radio. Okay.
I'm just a big Tom Kiefer. I'm a big fan of Tom Kiefer's voice.
Okay.
Love me some Cinderella. My father had the Cinderella's Greatest Hits CD, and he would play. And I really like Gypsy Road. So that's been what I've.
They were from New Jersey. They came up through the ranks behind Bon Jovi.
Okay.
As Bon Jovi came up through the central New Jersey ranks, they were really a central New Jersey band. Acts like Cinderella and a couple others got discovered as some of the
Bon Jovi openers.
At Bon Jovi openers, and these bars that are like 20 miles north of me, but like 20 miles south of the Stone Pony and the Springsteen scene. And a lot of these sort of like rock hair rock, but like with a little bit of like classic rock. A lot of them got discovered in there. Cinderella broke. There was like one other that broke big. I'm drawing a blank though, but they're a Jersey band.
I was more excited about Craig Sheffer, the guy who plays Joe Kane, to be honest with you, because that's one of my favorite movies of all time. I love the program.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember anything else he was in, and I'm drawing a blank. But
A River Runs Through It. I think he was in that.
I saw that. Oh my god.
Yeah,
that's a movie that's just 3.5 hours of people like riding on horseback to and from a mansion.
Yeah, nothing really eventful happens.
Nothing happens.
I didn't despise it. It wasn't a fantastic movie in my opinion, but
a lot of sunsets and dudes doing this.
Yeah, I think he was in an episode of that USA show Burn Notice.
That I don't know much. I'm not a big. I don't binge watch Burn Notice.
I don't either. My sister was into it for whatever reason, and I remember seeing it. I was like, oh, that's Craig Sheffer. How about it? Oh, we've covered a lot today, my friend. I'm glad that we did this. It's always good to see you. You can plug anything that you would like before we get on out of here.
Football Outsiders Almanac is over my shoulder, and it is on sale now. And I also have another copy of it here because I get multiple copies. Okay, 500 pages of information that can help you in your fantasy draft or in your daily fantasy pools and things like that. Can help you with your over-unders before the season starts, or can just make you a better fan. Keep it next to you during the third preseason game. Keep it next to you early in the season. Look for the team previews, player comments, college football information, etc. On sale now at Amazon, or you can come to footballoutsiders.com and not only purchase the Almanac by clicking a banner, but you can become a subscriber. FO Plus subscribers, it's cheap. It's an ad-free experience. There's a lot of bonus content, and you can have our content week in and week out. Exclusive stats you can't get anywhere else. And that's a huge help when you're trying to pick winners on Sunday morning, or you're trying to get your fantasy lineup together and saying, I wonder how this team defends number one receivers. Do number one receivers go for a couple hundred yards against their cornerbacks, or do they get shut down? We've got that. It's FO Plus. We've got picks. It's at FO Plus. Become a subscriber, get the Almanac, and come hang out with me at Walkthrough 4 times a week during the regular season. I'm going to be on there, not just doing podcasts, but writing my columns.
You're doing Twitch stuff too, right? Football. Are you still doing Twitch stuff?
We have a podcast twice a week that you can find on Twitch, and you can find anywhere else that you do podcasts, etc. You can find them on YouTube. That's going to expand. I'm going to have a Monday afternoon podcast as well. And during the season on Sundays, we're going to be doing a Discord where you can come in and hang out with some of the Football Outsiders writers. Go to admit I won't be there often because I've got like 20 games I'm watching for a wrap-up column. But a lot of our writers like Brian Knowles, Derek Klassen, Aaron Schatz himself, etc., different guys, different times will be getting in there. You can kibitz with other fans. You can argue about the games. You can talk about it. We used to do it as like a Monday column. You can do it with us now on Discord, Football Outsiders, live every Sunday, starting when the season starts.
Mike Tanier, it's always good to see you, my friend. I'm glad that we did this. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning into the Pump Fake. We'll be back next week as we inch closer to week 1. Thank you all for tuning in.